up, everybody? Welcome to my new project I call Architects of the Future, where I will be interviewing different founders and really just influential people from across various industries, whether it's business, tech, sustainability, health and wellness, art, entertainment, really you name it. Just really anybody that's trying to build a better tomorrow at the end of the day. We all have to work together. But this first episode, I actually had the pleasure of talking to the founder and inventor of Hydro Flask, Travis Rosbach. He had a $210 million exit. Is still looking to mentor and help the world by, helping new and aspiring entrepreneurs like myself, really anybody looking, to build a better future for the future generations. But at the end of the day, this guy was the most genuine and authentic founder I've had the pleasure of talking to, super down to earth. I mean, this guy was a captain of a merchant marine ship, was a commercial airline pilot, scuba diver instructor, Reiki master, just like you name it, just a true outdoorsman. Really, his life was built to really create and develop this water bottle that can really withstand it all and really just withstand the lifestyle that he was living. But just really great conversation. Talked about everything from business to religion, all the sacrifices he had to make. But super excited for you guys to get to hear the interview. And maybe we got some things on the horizon. So make sure to stay to the end because there are some surprises. So with that being said, enjoy the show.
These sunglasses, you knew that those were Oakley sunglasses. They were just different than the standard eyewear on the market at that time. And so with Hydro Flask, I wanted to kind of call upon some of those iconic brands that had like a very strong foundation in the public's ethos and just the sort of every day-to-day life growing up in the 80s and 90s. And then how do we bring those kind of icons into the present day was what I was constantly thinking about. And we were working on at Hydro Flask. Another thing we did was, like you said, look at the really big guys. Look at Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is not in our demographic. They're not competitors directly, but at the same time, they know what works. McDonald's and on and on and on. Even though they're not directly similar, they are a long-standing, reputable business that people recognize constantly, no matter where they are in the world. And so how do we become that name and brand synonymous with water bottles and everything that Hydro Flask stood for at that time?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know, and Hydro Flask really did experience, because of the product, really experienced, almost meteoric growth, a testament to, its product quality and brand resonance with the people. Obviously, like I've been using mine forever. Looking back, were there any strategies that kind of proved vital in, managing such rapid expansion? And, what kind of lessons did you learn on the way on that?
It was like riding a rocket ship. It was straight up. And it actually reminded me, there was a direct correlation between growing Hydro Flask and flying a Learjet. And when I used to fly jets, I remember the very first time flying a Lear, we did a short field takeoff, full flaps, full power, holding the brakes. We got cleared up to, I think, like 15,000 feet. And boom, lit the fire and just let it go. And we just shot right up and just trying not to die and trying to enjoy the ride and just trying to experience it and remember the experience, so that it felt like that a lot with Hydro Flask. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned from it was that a lot of people say, oh, well, if you don't have any sales, you're dead in the water. You're not going to make it if you can't sell anything. The flip side of that, the antithesis of that is if you have too many sales, if you have too much success, too much growth, you also need to fund that growth. And that was something that really caught me off guard. I had big plans for the business, but maybe not 600% a quarter growth. That kind of shocked all of us. But finding VCs and finding capital was something that we quickly had to learn, and it proved invaluable to just keeping us afloat and keeping the doors open.
That's awesome. Do you kind of feel like was it more of a money thing to kind of keep funding, obviously production, or did you feel like maybe, putting the right systems in place, like to manage that growth? What was it that was like a big pain point that you guys felt like, I know obviously you mentioned VC, so maybe it was a cash flow thing more than anything. But in terms of that, what was something that, you kind of felt like, oh man, this was something that I wish I would have done before, but looking
It
back.
was all manufacturing. When we started doing 20,000 bottles a month, and then we quickly started doing 40,000 bottles, and then 80,000, and then we were moving up to 120,000 a month. It's a lot of money to make those many bottles and to pay the factory. And then it takes 30 days to produce the bottles, and then 30 days to ship them, and another 30 days to receive them and then ship them back out, and then another 30 days to collect on the account that typically a lot of the wholesale accounts had a net 30. So there was sometimes 6 months from when we would have to pay the factory to where we would actually receive a dime from everything that we'd put out. And in the meantime, we had to keep hiring new people to just keep up with the growth and keep up with all of the marketing strategies and the new categories and the new account reps and the new salespeople. And so it was a constant struggle to just put money in the account at the end of every week. And getting the VC money was pretty much the only way we were able to do that, because it was pretty soon that our pockets were empty.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. I mean, that's a great problem to have as a company, right? I kind of going so fast. We need more money to come in, and a lot of people kind of talk about raising money. I'd imagine, it was probably pretty easy for you guys to just had some pretty decent revenue, or would you say, like, did you guys run into some bumps there?
it was a kind of a mix. It was nice because we had sales, we had a track record, we had a very well established and a very good name in the industry, in the outdoor world and in the fancy food industries. And people enjoyed the brand, they loved the brand, and so that helped. They recognized the product, they recognized the value and the eco-friendliness of it. They saw that it was a good product. But we started in 2008, and 2008, 2009, the economy sank, and there was not a lot of money. There wasn't a lot of time either. People who once had massive companies, construction companies, or mom and pop shops, they were drying up left and right. And so there wasn't a lot of time for mentorship. There wasn't a lot of extra cash on hand. And so that was kind of a big struggle for us, was how do we find people who actually still have money, even though we're in 2009, 2010, when not a lot of people do. And so a lot of the VCs had sort of seen the crash coming, and they had known that it was coming, and they had sort of squirreled away all of the cash on hand that they could, and were kind of ready for taking on projects like ours. And that was pretty much the only thing that saved us, was just finding those people and getting connected to them, because not a lot of people had time or money in those days. But at the same time, the consumers saw that $25 at the time for a water bottle was a good investment, and they started feeling better, and they were healthier, and it was a long-term investment, a lifetime warranty at that time. So, it was kind of a right combination of time and place also.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, you mentioned, marketing, and, marketing obviously played a pivotal role in Hydro Flask journey, building that story, that brand resonance with people. Could you share maybe a couple marketing strategies that surprised you with its impact? And, how did you leverage that customer engagement to kind of foster the brand loyalty that you have now?
Well, in my other businesses, I had a sign company and a fence company in Hawaii and in Oregon, and that was a lot of marketing. It was the fence company. We had a full page ad in the phone book, which I wonder if you've ever even seen the phone book.
Been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute, right? And so, that was our sort of marketing. We put up signs in front of the houses that we built fences, and we put door hangers up and business cards and the Chamber of Commerce events. We would go press the flesh and hand out business cards and brochures. That was sort of our marketing strategy for the fence company. For the sign company, it was downtown, big sign out front, and put out as many banners as we could with our name on the back and word of mouth referrals. And then when Hydro Flask came around, we found that when people would buy them, they just loved them so much that they wanted to share. They wanted to share them with their spouses and their family members and their neighbors and their coworkers. And so the marketing really became word of mouth from our customers. And it was great. It was wonderful. And it kind of made our lives a lot easier because we didn't have to put up a billboard. We didn't have to take out radio spots. We didn't have to have a commercial on TV. We could just have a good product, really good customer service, really cool colors, and a really hip and cool brand. And that really helped us with the marketing. So I don't want to say the marketing was easy, but we kind of cheated with it in that they marketed themselves.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things, and to be honest, one of the ways that I'm able to fund the supplement brand is run a digital agency, and we really focus on we talk about community building a lot. And Hydro Flask has one of the strongest communities out there, and I feel that it really comes down to the culture that you guys built as a company. And a lot of people kind of feel like a strong organizational culture is really often the bedrock of success for a company. Could you kind of delve into some of the core values that you instilled into, within the Hydro Flask, and the methods you use to kind of foster that culture?
Well, at that time, it was very much quality based. I really wanted to have a very high quality. And then the very next word that came right after quality was value. It needed to be a little bit expensive. It needed to be a little bit of a push to buy it, the first one, because people, again, they had never seen such a thing. And so to make them pony up $20-$25 for a water bottle was kind of unheard of at that time. But at the same time, I knew that if the more financial investment that they had into it, the more that they would appreciate it, the more value that they would intrinsically place upon the bottle itself. And so to be able to have that kind of fine line between, it's an expensive product, but my God, I feel really good when I drink water, and it's so worth it. I keep it everywhere with me. It's just like my $300 pair of sunglasses or $200 pair of sunglasses. Why would I not pay $25 for a water bottle? And so that was quality meant lifetime warranty and thick enough that it wasn't going to dent, strong enough powder coat that the powder coat wasn't going to flake off. It was now powder coat, not paint. There were a couple other brand, there was a single wall brand, and they had painted all their bottles, and you look at it wrong and the paint flaked off.
Yeah.
So how do we make that better? Well, for 5 cents more, we can go from paint to powder coat. Done. Let's do that. So I was willing to put in more investment per bottle to have a much bigger value because the quality was just greater. And there were a lot of times wherein I'd be at the factory and I'd say, well, what if we did it this way? And the factory would say, oh, no, it's too expensive. There's no way, you're not going to want to do it. I'd say, all right, well, I probably won't. You're probably right. But what does expensive mean? And they'd say, well, it's 7 cents.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, let's just do it and see what happens, and we'd pay the extra 7 cents per bottle. And, it would be an amazing radical transformation from this piece of tin that, maybe wouldn't have lasted to something that we could strongly and confidently say had a lifetime warranty.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times it comes down to, quality over quantity, as everybody says. And, Hydro Flask definitely, I think, broke through the, broke through the noise because, with the quality that you guys put out. And, I know you were mentioning some of the other businesses that you were running. And, obviously, as a founder, I'm assuming your leadership kind of evolved over time. What were some of the key decisions or business principles that you picked up scaling a product like this, and even scaling some of your other businesses to moving towards something like Hydro Flask? Because your other business sounded a little more service based, and Hydro Flask was a product based company, and two very different models.
Yeah, it really was. With the service based, I was a lot more hands on with the service side. I had more time to spend with the clients and the customers that we had. With Hydro Flask, it was I really needed to learn to delegate and outsource a lot of the responsibilities. And as much as I wanted to do customer service and I wanted to do sales and I wanted to do marketing and I wanted to do everything that went into having the business of Hydro Flask, I quickly learned that it wasn't best for Hydro Flask for me to try to have my hands in everything. And so learning to just have that 30,000 foot and sometimes ground level, I'd kind of watch over and I'd kind of know what every department was doing. And I would kind of guide them and help form their ideas as to what it meant to do marketing for Hydro Flask or sales at Hydro Flask. But just kind of stepping back a beat and letting others sort of make their own decisions and fall down sometimes. It's a lot like having a child learning to walk, where you always want to just hold them, but they don't learn to run if you hold them all the time. You have to let them fall so that they know how to get their feet. And having a company that was growing so quickly was a lot like that, where I know you're going to fall, you fail. Now what are you going to do? Oh, cool. Or, ooh, not a good idea. What if you did this instead? Okay, now go try it again. And it was a constant learning curve for me as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, as a lot of times it is, I think life's really about lessons, and you're just constantly learning and evolving as a human being, right? Like,
if you're lucky,
yeah, if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
That's what, and kind of, hitting on that point of like letting people kind of, fall and learn and grow, when it comes to strategic growth and strategic partnerships, where, a lot of people say, partnerships often fuel growth. Were there any pivotal partnerships that you felt kind of propel Hydro Flask's, success? And, what criteria kind of guided your selection of like strategic partners, whether it was the surf company that you guys collabed with, maybe it was a CGO or a marketing professional that you guys brought in? Was there anything that kind of, stood out in your mind where you're like, wow, like that really, helped us a lot that I didn't realize I needed?
Yeah. I would say the two biggest were Whole Foods and our graphic designer, Alice Drobna. I would say those two were the biggest benefits to Hydro Flask that really helped propel us forward. Alice was and is just an amazingly brilliant woman who can graphic design better than anybody else, as far as I'm concerned. I'd go into Alice's office and I'd say, I've got this idea. And I would draw it in my chicken scratch, and I would draw this picture, and everybody would look and they'd laugh and they go, what does that even mean? And Alice would go, I got it. Great. And then a couple of days later, she'd come in and she'd show me what she'd been working on. It was just like, done. That's it. Thank you. And so with Alice's help, I used to always think and know and say that, if I ever had to start over again, as long as I had a good graphic designer, I was set. And then the other one was Whole Foods. We had just got a Whole Foods here in Bend, Oregon. And I thought, why not? Why shouldn't I just go in and sell them Hydro Flasks? It's just a store just like anybody else, and they're part of our neighborhood community now. And I'm sure they'd be interested. And I'll be darned, they were. They said, "Yeah, we'll try you." And so having Whole Foods in my back pocket, I'd go into try to sell an account, and I just kind of name drop Whole Foods, and boom, all right, let's go. We're buying. And getting that early on was a really big benefit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. You say that you had brought that up on our last conversation. It really just comes down to door knocking, and you'd be surprised at who just says yes. It just really comes down to the amount of reps. And it was funny. We actually on my marketing agency, we just signed LA Times, and it really does help to have a foundational client like that when you're going to other people to be like, hey, like these guys are working with us. It helps tenfold for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Good job, by the way. Congratulations.
thank
There's
you.
nothing to scoff at. That's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, super. So man, it was the one thing working with companies like that is the contracting I don't know what it was like, signing Whole Foods, but man, it was a process, back and forth with legal. I was like, I was prepped for like maybe, 4 to 6 weeks, ended up being like 2 months, almost 3 months of like just back and forth, and, navigating that, and, hedging out all the details and everything. It was a great experience though. I loved it, but super stoked and thankful that they trusted us to kind of do some things on with them.
Well, and you'll find now that you've got that out of the way, it just gets easier and easier from here.
100%.
Like now that you've got that contract experience and that copy and that knowledge and that information, you've learned so much from having to put yourself through it, where I'm sure there were multiple days and nights where you thought, my God, is this ever going to end? Is it ever going to work? It's going to fall apart. I just know it. It's done. We lost it. All this time wasted. And then you get to the other side and you go, hell yeah, dude, you made it.
Yeah.
And then the next one that only takes like 3 emails, you're like, I got this, no problem. So
100%. A whole lot of prayers. I'll tell you that. I was like,
yeah, for sure.
We gotta get through this. I know if we get through this, everything else is gonna be way easier. Because it was mostly just the MSA, because there was a lot of other things that they wanted us to do. So they're like, once we get through the MSA, all the other contracts will be way easier. So I was like, okay, it's gonna happen. I just gotta trust that God, God is looking out, act boldly in adversity circumstances, or gonna come to your aid. So I was like, it's gonna work out. So you just gotta have that faith that everything will work out better than you could have imagined. And a lot of times it does. But that being said, I know behind every successes there are sacrifices in business. What were some of the sacrifices that you made building, Hydro Flask, and how do you evaluate their impact on the business's success, even if your other businesses as well?
I would say in the short term, when I was in the thick of it, I would say that the sacrifices were nights and weekends, and holidays were another big sacrifice, where I would normally drive 2.5 hours over the mountain pass to my family's house to go to a holiday. I couldn't sacrifice the 5-hour drive, and I couldn't sacrifice the 8 hours at the function, at least in my mind, because we had a deadline for Monday, or we had a deadline that we were trying to reach. And I knew consciously that if I sacrifice this birthday party or this holiday or this shindig or this vacation now, Monday, when all of this is over, Monday night, then I can let my hair down. Then I can relax a little bit, knowing that we got that contract, knowing that our bottles are in that store, and that I would have to drop everything and run off to the factory, and taking off and going to China at a moment's notice is difficult, at best, painful at times. And yet I knew that somebody had to make those sacrifices and go through those pain points, and there was really nobody else to do it except for me. But I knew that if I did it, then it would make it easier for everybody else, when I got back. And it was better for the company if I had put myself through that. And so I really sacrificed a lot of my health. There wasn't a lot of money for Travis. There was always money for Alice and the rest of the employees, but I was always on the bottom of that list to get paid. And I was always on the bottom of the list for time off, and and I was always the first in on Saturday mornings to be cleaning up whatever mess there was for Monday, so nobody else would have to do that, and yet in the long term, when Hydro Flask had this success that it has had, it sort of made it worth it.
That's hot. That's, I think a lot of times, entrepreneurship often tests one's faith a lot. So like, how did some of your personal beliefs influence your journey and help you kind of push through with Hydro Flask? How can entrepreneurs draw strength from, their faith in building their ventures?
I've said it before and I'll say it again, but act boldly and unseen forces will come to your aid. And there were many nights and early mornings where I remember very vividly sitting on my stairs, staring out the window at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning, having no idea how I'm going to make payroll. And payroll is at 4 o'clock. And we've got $600 in the bank, and I owe $6,000 or whatever the numbers were. And I just, I just felt like just keep doing the right thing. Like Spike Lee has a movie called Do the Right Thing. And that was always a mantra, was just do the right thing, just tell the truth, act confidently and act boldly and act with integrity and just it'll happen somehow, some way, some shape or form, something will happen. And by golly, it would. Somebody would come in and say, oh, I owe you for this account. And we'd look at the check and it was exactly $6,000. And so we'd make payroll and be back to $600 in the bank again, but everybody's been paid, and it was like those tiny little miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And even when I was starting the company, I was like, I had the flash of inspiration to do it. And then there were multiple times where I second guessed myself and I questioned myself. And I don't know anything about bottles. I don't know anything about manufacturing. I don't know anything about this kind of product business. I don't know that I'm the right one to do it. I think you called the wrong one. And something would happen where it's like, no, Travis, you are the one doing this. You're the only one who has been called. You're the only one who can do this. So now go do it. But I still don't know it doesn't matter. You don't know what you're doing. This is you, go do it. And shoot, it would just magically happen.
That's amazing. You mentioned magic, and one of the things, or sayings, beliefs, concepts that I've kind of almost put a word for that together is level 12, these level 12 moments in our life. And I just want to touch on this lastly. Travis, could you share some of those level 12? I know you shared some of them, but was there any like defining moment in Hydro Flask or even your personal journey, an unexpected turning point per se that significantly shaped this trajectory, whether in the business or your life?
Whew. There's been a lot. I mean, I think it really comes down to having the awareness of miracles and having the awareness that and being open to positive things happening. If you're closed and you're shut down, and if you say, oh, it's not going my way, nothing's working, and you start to get down and you shut down, nothing happens, and you say, see, I told you so. But if you act with integrity and confidently and curiosity, always being curious. Are you the one that's going to be able to help us? Is this the magic silver bullet that's going to help us get through this? Is this the account that's going to open so many doors that we will be okay? Is this the sales rep that might get us into REI? Is this the account rep that will open up multiple doors throughout the Midwest that is going to be, what we need to sustain business? And just taking shots, just take those shots. Cause, I'm sure, I don't know who, but somebody said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I've never won the lottery, but that's because I don't play the lottery.
Yeah.
If I played the lottery, maybe I'd win, but I can't complain about not winning the lottery because I don't play the lottery. So if I take those shots and I get up, Brian Tracy said it's the law of averages. You just got to keep swinging because you're going to strike out. Reggie Jackson struck out more than anybody else or whatever those stats are, but he also hit the most home runs because he would just swing. Bo Jackson, he'd strike out more often than not, but man, when he would connect, it would be out of the park. And everybody remembered, every time it'd go out of the park, but nobody really remembers the strikeouts, and so you just have to swing. You have to swing for the fences because statistically somebody's going to knock it out of the park. But if you don't swing, you're not even going to get a single.
100%. I couldn't agree more. You 100% miss all the shots you don't take. And, I know you don't play the lottery, but, starting Hydro Flask with no experience in water bottles or manufacturing was, a risk and a bet. And it seemed to obviously play off well. And, congratulations on building something truly remarkable. I want to say thank you, Travis, for sharing all your valuable insights into really building a sustainable business. I also really love that you're continuing to help architect the future by, mentoring young entrepreneurs like myself. Can you tell me just a little bit about, your thought process behind going into mentorship and, what some of your goals are with it possibly, and, what's next for Travis?
Yeah, well, I never had a lot of mentors. My mentors are those books, and I would go out and I'd spend $25, or I would go to the library and have $5 in late fees on a book. And those were my mentors. And if I wanted an answer, I'd have to read the entire book before, and maybe it was in that book, or maybe I'd have to go read another one. And so the concept of having a human mentor who can say, yes, I've been there. Yes, I've done that. And you're going to be okay. You can trust me. I just think it's such a novel concept, but it's also so powerful that I feel humbled, and I also feel slightly obligated. And I love business so much that I enjoy being in the game, And so when I talk to you and about your business endeavors, it's like, cool, what are the younger generations doing in business today? And how do I learn from you and teach you what I know? I mean, it's a two-way street. I get being near just as much out of mentoring as my mentees, I guess it is, do also. And what's coming next? I have another bottle company coming up, and we haven't officially launched or announced it yet. But I think within the next 2-3 months, you'll start to see something else coming out of Travis.
Oh, that's amazing. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I only asked just because, I was looking at your website and some of your packages, and, one of the things that we do is that we've worked with a lot of other mentors as well, and kind of how I found the intro app and you. And, if you ever need any help, I'd love to just help any way I can, whether it's building, packages out for you and, helping you market it. On me, would love to just, work with you if there's any way. Obviously, I would love to, as we get to a certain point with the supplement brand, definitely would love to work with you at a higher level too. But if there's ever anything that I can do for you, I would be more than grateful. I'd be honored to help out. So, I'm a phone call away, text, you have my information. But yeah, I want to say thank you again because I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You really not only inspired me, but I know you inspired millions, and I really want to thank you for that. So yeah.
I really appreciate that, James. Thank you. It gets a little lonely sometimes, and so to hear that, it reinstills my confidence in what I'm doing, and it's fuel to keep me moving forward. So I really appreciate that, and thank you.
Of course.
And I absolutely will hit you up. I will take advantage of that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, I'll follow up with you and send you some of our case studies and our decks and stuff. We can see what we can put together for you, and then we can just kind of go from there.
I'll be kind of like right next to, and then eventually right above the LA Times logo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would love to. A little side quest project of mine is I am gonna start making some clothes. We actually worked in Web3. I don't know how familiar you are, but would love to do like a collab, merchandise with like you and the quote, act boldly in unforeseen circumstances will come to your aid. When I put that together, I'll send it over for your approval just so that you can see that.
Nice.
But
Nice. Yeah, dude, that'd be
with your
dope.
approval, of course, if you're cool with that, I would love to do that.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.
That's awesome. Maybe
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if you have like a nonprofit or something. We could have the funds go somewhere that you want. I just, want to do it just out of it's just a little side project of mine that, I plan on doing as we start building out architects of the future, and it'll just be one part of the project. But yeah.
Done. I love it. Thank you so much. I will
Yeah,
absolutely. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love that. Well, I'll definitely be following up with you shortly. I'll send you a little recap email of the, some of the services that we provide and that we can kind of put together something for you. And looking forward to seeing that new bottle of yours.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. I like it.
All right. Have a good one, Travis. Pleasure as always. You have a great rest of your day and rest of your week.
Yeah, yeah. You too, James. Be
Talk
well.
soon.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too.
All right.
All
Cheers.
right.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.